Well, that sound must mean it's time for a visit from Bob. Our last video, I talked about purpose and the importance of using that as the grounding of yourself and your organization. So let me back up, well, not back up, but let me add. So when I'm talking about these things, I consider them to be applicable to both um, individuals and organizations. And um, part of what I hope is illustrative is that the dynamics inherent in an organization are also applicable to you as an individual. So today I'm going to talk about plan. And when I'm talking about plan, I want you to know I'm not talking about mapping out every step. That's process, and that's a different issue. And I will actually be talking about that in subsequent videos. Um, but what I'm referring to in plan is framework, and framework identifies the focus of the effort and the mindset of the organization, the mindset of the leaders. In fact, in setting that mindset, you're laying the groundwork for good decisions on processes, for focused decisions on processes. So um, in formulating a plan, it's important not to get stuck in trying to make it perfect. And again, even when you're working on processes where more precision is required, you don't want to get stuck in the weeds too much. What I've seen over and over again, especially people and individuals who are like they want to start their first business or they're looking for their first job, they just try to be too granular. So I'm going to give you some examples of what it looks like that will work. Yeah. So the give up that give up that desire for certainty that your plan is correct. Think in terms of your plan is merely your way of putting the ball in play. And in putting the ball into play, that causes you to show up and it causes other people to show up. And um, many will show up to help you, and many will show up to tell you you're wrong or you're crazy or here's how you should do it. And I recommend that you be careful about who you listen to. I'll put it that way. All right. So I'm going to go with an easy example because it's just so ridiculously successful. It's so omnipresent in our lives, and that is the one of Amazon. So Jeff Bezos started Amazon in 1994, and not uncoincidentally, that was a year after Sears Roebuck closed down their catalog operation. So in 93, Sears Roebuck couldn't transition to modernity and shut their doors, and Bezos opened a year later. And not many people know this. Sears was as much in the lives of Americans in its heyday as Amazon is today. Um, Everything is so similar. You know, the only thing that's different is that we now have this thing called the internet where we can order instantly. Same way he started in 94, and then 4 years later in 98, he came out with what has become a legendary letter to his shareholders. And I think a fair amount of this existed at the start, but it's just exemplary of what I'm talking about as far as when I'm talking about plan. Again, plan, not process. So I'm just going to read. I'm going back to reading again, but anyway, I don't want to get it wrong. And in some cases, I have paraphrased a little bit. So he came out and he said, "We will focus relentlessly on our customers. Investment decisions will be guided by putting long-term market leadership considerations over short-term profitability." Now, think about that. When you make that kind of a statement and it goes through the organization, you are giving managers and others the lens through which to look to make good decisions. Next, he said, we will continually analyze our investments and jettison those that don't generate acceptable returns. Again, a critical decision down the line when leaders realize, okay, we are good at cutting our losses and getting out. We're not an organization that clings and hopes that something will turn around. We're committed to learning from our mistakes. Where we see opportunities with the promise of gaining market leadership, we will move boldly. So that was, again, one of the things that just the overriding, an Amazon overarching principle was market leadership. In fact, Amazon was considered to be a pretty questionable investment for many, many years because they showed very little profit and they plowed all their money back in to growing the company. Yeah, and as a side note, it's not the perfect follow you can't just copy Amazon and have a perfect company. Plenty of companies have made that decision to plow the earnings back into the company, and there are plenty of companies that have done that have not succeeded. So what the important lesson here is just the setting the framework and knowing what expectations are that the entire organization knows and can act upon. All right. We'll prioritize cash flow over accounting techniques. We will share our strategic thought processes with our shareholders. So they've said we're going to be open. We're not going to be closed. We will work hard to spend wisely and maintain our lean culture. So a commitment to cost consciousness and keeping things tight. Now, this also, it's important to know, this was said before Amazon was massively profitable. And so this was a critical thing to keeping shareholders and employees and everyone else involved, keep them having faith in the future success of Amazon. We'll balance our focus on growth with emphasis on long-term profitability and capital management. At this point, we choose to prioritize growth because we believe that scale is central to achieving the potential of our business model. And at this point, when he was saying this, he could already see how important scale was to Walmart. Walmart was moving more product. Gosh darn it! Now I'm drawing a blank on the analogy, but it was some big logistics arm of the U.S. government that Walmart actually was moving more material than them. So anyway, that was something that he could see. We will continue to focus on hiring and retaining versatile and talented employees and continue to weight their compensation to stock options rather than cash. So even in compensating employees, we could see that he was reinforcing this framework he had set up in how employees are compensated by virtue of lean on upfront cash, lean, not fat on upfront cash, and more towards the long term and stock options. We know our success will be largely affected by our ability to attract and retain a motivated employee base, each of whom must think like and therefore must actually be an owner. Must think like an owner, must actually be an owner. So the thing to look at, and you might, especially if on an individual basis, let's say that you are a young person starting out, or you're even you're a mid-career person looking to make a change. Don't overthink the upfront. It's here's where I want to be. I want to work in this arena. And what I want to really urge you to do is to be comfortable saying that, at first I would say, just say it to yourself. Just convince yourself first. Just say, I want to be in this arena. And don't try to justify that. If you remember from the previous video, I was talking about the thing of saying, I don't know why, but I've always wanted to. That's an important preface to I've always wanted to be in the circus, whatever it happens to be. But don't waste effort trying to justify that. It is something that's just in you that you need to act on. So I'm just going to give you some other examples of things that you can say to yourself as far as I will prioritize getting into this industry at any level over looking for a particular title or position. And to be honest, this is one of those things where mid-career people have a big challenge because like, well, heck, I'm vice president of this company. And now if I change industries, I've got to go be, not even a vice president. I'm a staff member, something like that. Well, this is where being in touch and committed to that, I don't know why, but I've always wanted to be, will allow you to make the mental adjustment to go, okay, I'm starting there, but I'm all in, and I'm gonna do these other things, gonna make sure that I advance and that I succeed in this career. So some of the things that you want to add to your own plan. I will focus relentlessly on mastering the essentials of my business. I will you could decide, say something like, I will travel as needed. I will go wherever is necessary. Now, again, it could be that you can't do that. So just say that to yourself. You know what? I'm going to do everything I can, given that I have this restriction that I really can't travel as much as I want. I have family, whatever it is. But take the time to put those kinds of things in your plan. See how these are just all statements of what it is that will work for you. Put saving money ahead of spending on doodads. Just keep putting money away so that you can continue to make decisions that lead to your long-term success in the industry, not the short-term gratification. I'll work hard to have good relationship with my coworkers. I'll put getting the job done ahead of watching the clock. So again, in the effort to keep these short and hopefully to the point, I'm going to wrap it up here and just say that in your plan will come from your statement and clarity of what your purpose is. And your plan, again, at this point, is not to put in detailed process, play by play. Here's what I'm going to do. It's put in a framework by which you're going to approach this job or this new business you're starting or the existing business you're starting, putting in that framework that will guide you from here on. I hope this has helped. If you like this video, please hit like. If you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. And I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.